Hello dear friends and colleagues. Today we will talk with you about the understanding of the imperialistic fantasm. This video is recorded in the context of Russian-Ukrainian war and represents my subjective opinion and my own reflections on what is happening from psychoanalytical point of view in between two countries. To start with, I want to stress on the fact that any imperialistic phantasm leads to war, with no exception. Shall we talk about the French imperialistic phantasm, the British or the Russian ones? Today I want to look into the Russian imperialistic phantasm in particular, but if any of you is interested in knowing the origins of the imperialistic phantasms of other nations, which are totally different, and any unconscious of any nation, especially imperialistic nation, has got its own specificities, so please write to me or put in the comments what kind of country you would like to see the next video about. So let's talk about the Russian imperialistic phantasm, which is the phallic imperialistic phantasm. In contrast, for example, the British phantasm of Mother the Virgin imperialistic phantasm. What does it mean? It means that for British, it's very important the figure of Mother the Queen, who reunites all her children, her territories all around the world, who protects them, but also is asking for protection, for her own protection from the side of her children. So the soldiers and the nation wants to protect Mother the Queen and feels proud and responsible for doing so. We can see how British soldiers and even American soldiers who hold the same origins of the same phantasm take pride in the protection, in the defense of their country. In contrast to the Russian soldiers who feel more submissive in accomplishing their duty. So there is not as much of pride which we can see on the level of Russian soldiers as much as we can see that in the case of English soldiers. So the final goal, the structure and the final goal of imperialistic maternal phantasm, which is the British one, is to ask her children, that is to say the soldiers, the nations, to protect the queen. We know these expressions like Viva Victoria, long live the queen. So the final goal is the protection of the queen. The wars were conducted in order to protect the queen, in order to protect the reputation. And we see how much sensitive the reputation of the queen is. This is the core of any British person, of the collective unconscious of British people. So this is the final goal for the British. While if we talk about the Russian imperialistic phantasm, we see that in this phallic phantasm, the only powerful, omnipotent figure is the phallic man. He is the son or the father, Tsar, king, whatever you call him, but he is the only man who has the right to enjoy the total power in his kingdom. While other men, they are either castrated or they have to accept their castration, otherwise they would be executed. So basically they have no power, no influence, they are just the servants of the phallic glory, potency of the king. And the structure and the final goal of this phantasm is the procreation of women. That is to say, the seduction and the expansion of the population, therefore the lands, through the procreational process. And for this, you need to seduce women, to make them obey you, to subdue them. And we can see how in Russian society this complex is actually active. Women are so much invested into their feminine side. They find it extremely important to be attractive for not any man, but actually for that great one, the king, the one who they are expecting to seduce in order to take this place under the sun. And they are more invested into their feminine attraction than into the other side of their personality. And we can see how Russian men in the Russian society, they feel undervalued, and they don't feel they are really they can actually achieve this feeling of potency, that they can be phallic, because the only phallic person is the king. And if you're going to rivalry with the king, either you would be executed or you would be castrated. So for any Russian man, it's very important to keep in mind, especially if he is working in the governmental structures or in the system itself, to keep in mind never compete with the king, but just to obey him. That is to say, accept his own castration. And we can also notice how many alcoholic men are there just because they are not able to reveal and personify their phallic side, their masculine side. So basically we can see how different those two phantasms are, two different empires, and the goals are totally different. That's why this invasion for Russia is actually the proof of an attempted to prove its own fallacy, because there is no other goal. If, for example, when British were invading other countries, they were colonizing other countries, it was made in the name of a queen, it was made in the name of a woman, of a mother. While in the Russian case, it's the proof of the fallacy. The king doesn't feel that he is potent enough. He feels that he is not being considered as a phallic figure. That's why he needs to prove it again. And actually, when we talk about any imperialistic history, especially the Russians, for Russian, the phantasm of empire is actually a big illusion, which has been made on the basis of the mix between the collective unconscious and the abundance of the territories and lands which they had. Russians are still keeping on fighting for this illusion. They are still believing they cannot let the past go, that they are actually superhuman, that they actually belong to the super state. It's very important for them to understand, to believe in that. But actually it's a huge illusion, and the more the current war is continuing, the more Russians are just falling into the frustration that actually they would have to admit one day and to get rid of this phantasm in order to get integrated into civilized world, just like the Germans had very difficult time after the Second World War to be reaccepted again into the civilized family. But actually they had to do huge psychic work on their liberation from Hitler's phantasm of supremacy. And only when the nation has made huge unconscious and conscious work on that, they were able to get a place inside the European family. And this is actually what Russia will have to do, and Russians as a nation, in order to continue living in the modern system. Otherwise, they would not be able to survive if they keep on having this illusion, this mythical narrative, non-existent, the phantasm which has no realistic grounds under its feet. And the price, unfortunately, the price which the nations who think that they are superior to others, that they are greater than others, and they try to force this representation, their representation on others. In the end, these are the people who have to pay the price. They pay the price with the misery of the life they are leading, with the impoverishment of the life, with insatisfaction with the life, on the side of the women who are basically enslaved in certain categories as per how a woman should look, act, how she should behave, and on the side of the man who cannot find their phallic place in the society, because as I told you from the beginning, this place belongs only to one man. So these are my thoughts which I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions which you would like to ask, please send me a mail or just leave comments.